Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video I am going to be showing you guys 4 different AFK money making methods, and in my opinion these are some of my favorite AFK money makers to do when I'm just casually playing RuneScape while doing something else. So I really hope you find some of these methods helpful, and I will be putting timestamps in the description for each method. I really hope you guys do enjoy, and let's jump into the video. And so for the first money making method, we are going to be making the sharp shell shards, which are essentially used to make the Elder God Wars arrows. So to start, you can just go to the player owned farm, just go in the building and you can teleport using the mystical tree. There are a few requirements for this method, one being having the extinction quest completed. So that is one that does need to be completed. The other requirement is having level 87 fire making. So doing this method, it is fairly AFK. Basically all you're going to be doing is collecting from the pile of dinosaur eggs here, and you will be getting 2 different types of eggs. So as you can see, you have the good eggs, and then you also have the bad eggs. So the good eggs, they are going to go into the fast incubator here. The bad eggs are going in the fast compost bin over here, and you will be getting these sharp shell shards by doing that. Right now these shards are selling for about 1,400 coins each. I did test this method. I was able to get around 7,000 of these shards per hour. I wasn't going really hard. I was trying to be a bit AFK and do it naturally. And so I was able to get 7,000 shards in an hour. Now if you multiply the 7,000 shards by 1,400, basically you are going to be getting about 9.8 million coins per hour doing this method. And it is fairly AFK. There are definitely some other methods that are more AFK, just because with this one you do have to walk back and forth fairly frequently, but there are some periods of AFK time, but that really is just how it works. It is a pretty simple method. You'll be getting some pretty good fire making XP from this method as well. It should be around 350,000 fire making XP. And yeah, it is a pretty easy method. It is a bit less AFK than some others, but you are getting some extra GP per hour because of that. The next method is actually going to be using the Dine Arrows, and we're going to be combining it with the Resonant Anima of Ful. So you can use each of the 4 Elder God Wars Resonant Animas, but right now the Ful Arrows are going for the most, so we are going to be making those. Now for this method, it is really important to use a portable Fletcher. It's also important to have the Brooch of the Gods, because that doubles the proc chance of the portable Fletcher, which allows you to save some ingredients. Basically the profit margins on these arrows, they're quite slim, but if you do get that chance to save materials or make extra arrows, it really does boost the profit and it makes it really well worth it. If you do have the Fletching Cape, that is also helpful as well. It provides a chance to make some extra arrows, which is of course really helpful also. So anyway, this method is quite simple. You just imbue the arrows. As you can see, it's extremely AFK. You have about 250 seconds before you have to touch it again. So that is the really good thing about this method. And so I just finished making all of my Ful Arrows. Basically, I spent roughly 7 or 8 minutes doing this. And so we're going to sell them. Basically, I bought the materials for about 5.1 mil. And so as you can see, they insta-sold for 5.6 mil. So you can expect to make around 4 or 5 mil GP per hour. It might be best to slow buy the Din Arrows and slow sell the Ful Arrows, just so you can maximize your profit. But again, if you don't have the Brooch of the Gods, then it isn't really worth doing this method. So I'd only do the method if you have the Brooch of the Gods and you are using a portable Fletcher. So this next method is going to be killing nightmare creatures. So we are now moving into some combat money-making methods, and it is pretty AFK, especially if you have Animate Dead. So the requirements for this method are level 80 Slayer, so that is required. You will also need the Children of Ma quest completed, and highly recommend having Animate Dead, which means you need the City of Senesin quest completed and Desert Treasure for Ancient Magics. Now, there are a lot of recommended items as well, and just recommendations. One being level 90 Magic. You'll also want level 95 Prayer for curses, so things like Soul Split and Torment. 97 Herd Lore for the Holy Overloads. And then also, you will want to bring some Weapon Poison, an Oldak Coil with some Cannonballs. If you do have the Restock Cannon perk, that is really helpful as well. Unfortunately, I don't have it, so I'll just have to manually reload my Oldak Coil every little bit. I am bringing a Blood Reaver familiar. It will basically make it so some of the health that I'm healing will go as damage towards the nightmares, which is quite helpful. And then I also have some Blood Reaver scrolls just in case I need some more life points, but that isn't really necessary, just in case of emergencies. As for the gear setup, as you can see, I have full Ganodermic aside from the glove slot where I have Cinderbane gloves. You can poison nightmares, so will just increase the DPS. So that is an important thing to bring as well, along with the weapon poisons. I am using the Demon Horn necklace, so that will hopefully give me basically unlimited prayer. Nightmares drop bones, so every time I bury the bones, I'll gain some prayer points. So that will help. Basically, for the aura, you can use Vampirism aura. You can also use Penance if you need the prayer boost. Maharat aura, Dark Magic aura, or Maniacal aura also do work. And I am bringing the Inquisitor Staff. It is boosted here at Nightmares. I bring the Scripture of Wen, and that is it. So let's just head over to the Nightmares, and I'll show you how the method actually works. So for this method, you will want to turn on your Legacy Combat mode. Put your Oldak Coil right over here and stand in the corner. You're going to want to protect from ranged, and then just make sure you have your Animate Dead active. You're going to be using a Blood Burst, and that's essentially it. The method is fairly AFK. If you do get low on health, just be wary of that. Having something like the Vampirism aura active will really help. So that is one suggestion. For the drops that you're going to want to look out for, basically they do drop a lot of rune salvage that you can make some good money off of. I typically don't pick up the Muspa spines. You can if you want. You can make them into the Muspa pouches for some profit, but it is just a bit tedious picking them up. But mainly you're just going to be looking for the rune drops. There are going to be some Dragon Battle Staffs, and of course they do have a chance at dropping the Nightmare Gauntlets, which is going to be a 33 mil drop right now. And so moving on to the last method, we have killing Crystal Shapeshifters. This too is in Legacy mode, and you will want the Inquisitor Staff. Now for this, you are going to want to wear some crystal gear. So as you can see, I have the crystal helm, the crystal gloves, and boots. And then I just have Virtus for my body and legs, and they are augmented. And I do have the scavenger perk on them. Crystal Shapeshifters is a pretty good spot to use the scavenging perk. But anyway, for the method, the requirements are level 99 Slayer, and that's because you will need to have them in the Sunken Pyramid. So you will need to gather some Crystal Shapeshifters first and put them in the small room in your player-owned Slayer dungeon. You'll also want a 95 Slayer for Soul Split and Torment. You won't want to use a protection prayer against Crystal Shapeshifters because they can hit you using various combat styles, so Soul Split is your best bet. Aside from that, as you can see, I do have a Ripper Demon just to increase my DPS if I need it. You will want to bring a Spring Cleaner. A lot of the drops are alchable, and then all the other ones basically are already noted. So just have your area loot up and just pick up the drops periodically before they despawn. And aside from that, it is pretty simple. You can have the Penance Aura basically to give you unlimited prayer if you don't want to just sip your super restores every little bit. Otherwise, you could use a Vampirism Aura and just make sure that you are sipping the super restores to restore the prayer. But the method is fairly simple using this gear setup. You typically don't want to have 4 or 5 of them on you. If you do have a lot of them on you, they can hit you pretty hard. So I would just suggest having, maybe 3 or 4. So using this method, you are going to be making right around 7 or 8 mil GP per hour, and as you can see, it is quite AFK. So this is another pretty good option. There are a few more requirements than some of the other methods that I mentioned, just because you do need 99 Slayer and the souls in your player-owned Slayer dungeon, but it is worth it. It is quite AFK, and the profit is pretty good. And so anyway, guys, those are the 4 methods in this AFK money make method. I really hope at least one of them was helpful to you, and you'll be able to use it while you're looking to do something AFK and make some money on your RuneScape account. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you did enjoy the video, and if you did, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe for more RuneScape 3 content, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.